When you heard the Derek Chauvin guilty verdict, what'd you think?
I was ecstatic, of course.
Did you cry?
I did.
Yeah.
And collectively, you could feel the country like just go, because we've been fucked so many times by the justice system over things that we have seen and know happened and with no repercussions, especially when it comes to the police. The police, that even though we knew what we saw and we knew the collective feeling around the country, we couldn't be sure that it was going to be executed in the way that we hoped until we actually heard the verdict.
Well, like Rodney King. You and I are old enough to remember that verdict.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not only the verdict, that was the first police beating we had ever seen on tape.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, except for in the 60s when they were spraying with hoses and beating us and chasing us with dogs.
Yeah.
Those become so ingrained in your head that you just... But this was 5 guys, 5 cops on one brother in Simi Valley, kicking and beating him senseless. And they walked away. And that's when the shit hit the fan.
Right. And that followed the Korean woman who shot that young black girl in the store. And even though she was found guilty by the jury, the judge decided to give her community service, which I think that Rodney King, that was sort of the fuse, and Rodney King was like, okay, that's what's going to set this fuse off. Yeah, and it made me realize something, because when the jury was read, a black female who I was around that day started to cry. And although I was very happy that the verdict came down that way, I now realized, it made me realize how a white person can't really be put in the shoes of a black person, regardless of how many black friends they have or how ingrained they are in black culture or whatever else. You're not going to understand it completely. No matter how, and I'm very ingrained in black culture, obviously, but I did not, like, watching the tears roll down and watching her talk about it. I'm like, okay, you really got to take a step back and realize that what a certain group of people are going through, you're not totally going to understand, and you have to respect their position as well as understand your position in that. Because I've never really had problems with the police like that. I've been roughed around and locked up, but I've never just been pulled over for no reason and, beaten and, had my rights violated and everything else like that. I've had asshole cops that I've dealt with, but usually it was triggered by something I was already doing. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, when I get pulled over by police, I don't worry about getting killed. So I can't totally grasp the seriousness of this verdict completely. And I understand that. And I respect that.
Still, you can't grasp it, the seriousness of this verdict? You still can't?
It didn't make me cry. Let me put it like that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. As I'm watching this person cry and I'm not crying, I realize I cannot, you can't put yourself in the shoes of someone else.
Well, yes, you can.
You could try.
No, you can.
If you've never experienced something yourself?
It's called empathy.
I understand that. And I empathized, but not to the point where I'm crying in tears like that.
Well, I'm not a transsexual female, but I have empathy for trans women being beaten in the street and, fucked up when somebody finds out what they are and they're just trying to be honest. I'm not trying to put the two in the same category because they're not, but I'm just saying I have empathy for other people, even the Muslims, when people were fucking with them real hard. I had empathy for that. I can put myself, I think actually as any minority,
Yeah.
you can put yourself in the position of any other minority. As a white person, I don't think you really can, because you can't grasp that this is history that we've been dealing with, taught about since we were young.
Yeah.
And there's historic documentation.
That's what I'm saying. And listen, I'm very uncomfortable saying this on camera right now, but I have to keep it real.
I mean, that's honest.
Yeah. Like
A lot of people should be that honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So when you see the all lives matter people and whatever else, they're never going to understand what BLM means.
But they don't want to understand.
But they don't want to understand.
Right.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that you have to let a group of people, you know, go through their own motions of grief and, you know, deal with injustice and everything else like that without putting your 2 cents in and telling them how they should feel and telling
absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And telling them, well, you know, really it's, you know, saying, oh, well, you know, but George Floyd had it coming, you know, he was resisting arrest. Like people don't want to hear that shit right now. You know what I mean?
We don't want to hear that shit ever.
Ever. Keep that shit to yourself. You know, understand that it's not about this one person. It's about the totality of it all. And the unfairness of it all and the history of it all.
And it has come so far as if we, as a black person with a friend who is non-black, if we even get a whiff that you might feel that way, we're at the point where we're not even going to fuck with you no more.
Facts.
We can't even fuck with you no more.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Wouldn't care if we grew up together, slept in the same bed together, bathed in, wouldn't care. If you grew up and you were friends with me, but you feel no empathy or feel that way about an individual that got murdered in front of you, then I can't fuck with you. No, we're done.
Yeah.
And my kids can't play with your kids neither.
Right. Right. Which is what I say, you know, because we have a lot of white viewers as well as black viewers and everything else like that. Just understand that you could never fully put your feet in someone else's shoes like that, because you didn't,
if you're white.
If you're white,
if
you
white.
Just simply, if you're white in America, because you simply.
But even outside of America,
but in America in particular, because America,
like Australians and stuff like that, in places where there are no black people. You know, Ireland.
Well, there's Aborigines in Australia, and they've had their own.
I'm talking about American black folks.
Right.
Black folks.
But I'm saying, like, you know, you go to places where there's never been a history of slavery, you're going to see a very different dynamic. Like I remember when I went to Senegal, I got to see the different dynamic between races. Because
Senegal's not white, though.
Senegal's black, right? And even though it was a French colony, at one point there was no slavery inside of Senegal. You know what I mean? Like the Senegalese were not made slaves, and they feel comfortable in their own country. They run their own country. They're not still under this, you know, white supremacist thing that America is still under to a certain degree. And, you know, you have to just be real with yourself, and you have to realize it, and you have to have the uncomfortable conversations, and you have to say that, yo, I don't, you know, I have empathy, but I can't put myself in your shoes, regardless of the empathy that I have. So I need to respect your position. You know what I'm saying? Of how you feel in this particular situation.
Yes, because if you have your white friend in the car with your black ass and you get pulled over, there's 2 different type of emotions that's going to go on in that car. The white person's going to be like, oh my God, I hope nothing happens. And the black person is like probably trying to call a relative or something, because we're automatically at this point assuming that something's going to happen. We're assuming we're not going to get just a ticket.
Yeah.